So you mentioned the spreadsheet and the sizes. How many sizes and SKUs are you up to now in terms of
1,170 sizes, about 900,000 SKUs.
Welcome back to DTC Diaries, episode I'm not sure, but I'm here with Joe.
Back again, subbing in for Lucas.
Lucas is currently sunning it up in Santorini, but I'm sure he'll be telling us all about that when he returns.
Yeah.
But we're here today with Kristian from Slow. Great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Looking forward to hearing a bit more about the brand's journey and the history today. Yeah, that'd be a really good place to start. As with every guest, we like to just start with a bit of an origin story.
Sure. Yeah, no, the origin story is everything, because I never anticipated that I would be doing this or that I would ever be making a pair of jeans in my life. And so, yeah, really, it comes end of COVID. I had just gotten a job, and the dress code for the first mixer of the company was jeans and a t-shirt, and I didn't even own a pair of jeans. And so I said, okay, I got to go buy a pair. I'm never going to wear the jeans ever again, so I'll buy them at a secondhand shop. And I went to the secondhand shop, end of COVID, not allowed to try the jeans on, so I just grab them, put them up against myself. Pretty tall guy, so I thought, fine, whatever, these look good. Brought them home the next day, put them on, walking to the train station to go to this event. I'm trying to put my phone in my pocket, and there is no pockets. It's just this teeny tiny little thing. And then in that moment, I went, oh my God, I bought a pair of women's jeans. Oops. And I was so caught off guard. I'm just standing there, and it's like snowing a little bit because it's Canada. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I didn't know who to tell in that moment. I just felt like I had to tell somebody. So I just made a TikTok. I had like 50 followers, literally nothing. Just 50 followers. I said, ladies of the world, are these your jeans? This is what you guys deal with on a daily basis. This is why you carry bags. What's going on? I click post, and I get on the train. Half an hour later, I get off the train. It's got like 3 million views. It's just absolutely popped off. Hundreds and hundreds of comments, hundreds of DMs. And I got off this train. I'm going to this tech job. And I called my friend who also just got a job, and I said, I think we need to make jeans. He's like, you just got a job. I said, no, I think we need to make jeans. People are really upset about these. He's like, I'm sure someone's fixed it, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no. He's like, look, if we get more data and it looks like it's a problem, I'll quit my job with you and we'll do it. And so we just started asking people questions, and we ended up growing the following to like over 100,000 people, just asking questions. What's wrong with your closet? What's wrong with fashion? Just tons of data. And that was the beginning of Slow.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's actually how I found you.
Oh, yeah?
I saw either the first video or one of the following videos, but then I think the reason we wanted to get you on as well was the story, what happened after the initial major success that you had from coming up with the idea from just a viral video. It'd be really cool to dig into what happened after that and the self-explained chaos that you said before we started recording.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's a really good story about the grit that is needed in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And then you ended up doing some pretty cool things with the supply chain. So yeah, what happened after that initial launch?
Yeah, I mean, well, we built up to that launch. It took us like 4 or 5 months because we literally knew nothing about making jeans. And so we did some crowdfunding. We designed the first products. We designed it with the community, trying to just, do you like this? Do you like that? Finally, we got to launch, and we sold out. Basically, we had 5,000 allocations. We sold them out in the first hour. So it was like $400,000 in revenue in the first hour. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, we did it. Like, this is it. Like, we've got a multi-million-dollar brand. This is going to be the biggest thing. And then everything went wrong.
That was like, that original demand was all organic, all community, all just
100%.
TikTok,
We've never spent $1
questions.
on ads to date. So 100% of it has been organic thus far. And yeah, just every single thing that could have gone wrong went wrong. You know, our third-party manufacturers just completely overpromised. You know, they told us it was like a 5-week turnaround time. Turned out to be 5 months. You know, we had people on the line for just months. You know, team was just not ready in the slightest. I was flying like to and from the factory every week. It was just, it was a disaster, and just, it didn't work. And we were trying to offer something that didn't exist. And that was what we realized. It was that it wasn't a fashion problem. It was a manufacturing problem. There just wasn't manufacturers that could handle what we were trying to do, which was basically taking customer measurements and having a size set that actually fit people properly, and then making jeans to order and then shipping them. And so we thought we had this great supply chain set up. We're going to make them in Italy. We were going to ship them in Italy direct to consumer from people, and everything was going to work. And nothing worked. And so that happened. The first launch, we improved a couple of things. Second launch, still terrible, but got a little bit better. Third launch, still terrible, got a little bit better. And then we realized if we're ever going to do this again, we have to build our own factory. like end to end. That's where we basically realized if you want to do something like this, you have to own the supply chain end to end. That's what we basically did.
What were some of the issues with those existing suppliers? What just give a bit more like detail on why they just couldn't handle it. Was it machinery? Was it just not being able to flex their ways of working to what you required?
Yeah, I mean, it's, the sheer aspect of that, these fast fashion brands, they have 8 sizes. And then here I came to them and had 190. And then, they don't want to do one of anything. They want to make 1,000 of something. So it's really just the core of it. That fashion is a system that is standardized. Everything is standardized. The system in the factory to the system to sell it. I'm sure you guys know better than anyone. Even ads, for fashion are standardized. So things that work and things that don't.
Yeah.
And so we were really breaking the mold from the bottom to the top, where we were saying, no, we're not going to make 1,000 pieces of anything. I'm going to make one piece. And I want to put people's name in them. And I want to take them from the factory. And I don't want to use a 3PL. I want to ship from the factory direct to the consumer. So I had the clothing factories literally packing up jeans and putting shipping labels on them and having them picked up by DHL. And so these guys were really eager because they saw the money.
Yeah.
But the reality was they had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Just a classic overpromise, underdeliver.
Like, yeah, by its very, very core. And then that makes it even worse when you're in southern Italy and, there are some interesting characters involved and you don't have an opportunity to tell them that you're not happy.
Yeah.
And can you speak Italian?
No, but Zena can. So that's why she was with me in Italy the whole time. It was great.
Marked straight in there.
Yeah.
I guess, like, how did you then, so from there, complete chaos, chaos to some degree. How many orders were backed up at that sort of point?
Like a few thousand at every given moment.
And you just completely paused the business from that and then went and decided to really commit to building that supply chain, owning it end to end, which I guess is moat now. But
yeah,
be interesting to like really double click on that, because I think it's probably one of our least on this podcast, especially like the area that we talk about the least is everything before the product arrives to sell. I think it's also so much leverage there, right? And it'd be interesting to hear a bit about how you went about that process. How did you go about setting your own factory up? What are the steps involved in that to get to where you are today?
Yeah, it was really weird. It was really strange. It was hard. It was showing up in Turkey. And I actually didn't even just start in Turkey. I went to India. I went all over India to see if I could build a factory there. We had some connections, and I just realized there was no chance I was going to be able to set up and run a company in India. I mean, just the company incorporation in India was like 9 months, just paperwork. And then in that moment, I was like, okay, this is probably not going to work. And we went all over Europe. I looked in the States to see if we could do it there, and we could do like a made in the US thing, which I thought people would like. I thought about buying the factory that we were using in Italy and then just replacing people and using the facility. Nothing. And finally, we realized that Turkey seemed like a good option. And people have been using Turkey to make samples for a really long time.
Yes.
And so that was where we were like, okay, they have a micro factory concept. We could probably do something with that. And we toured 40 or 50 different facilities. And then I found basically a company there that was going out of business. And they had machines, they had really good people, they had a facility. And I was like, I'll buy everything. I just want everything. I want to keep everyone employed, and I want all your machines, and I want your space. Would that work? And they were thrilled because they wanted to get out.
Yeah.
And and then we took it over. We renovated the entire place because it was disgusting, and just completely put our own twist on it. And then that was basically the beginning.
I'd love to know, like, take a step back to that's, what happened when you decided to do that. But the problem that you had in front of you, I think most people would just call it quits and decide to do something else. Like, you obviously didn't even mean to go into this business. Why did you then, at that point, after realizing how difficult it was to go after it, obviously now it's a really, big competitive advantage, a big moat, but at the time, why did you decide to do it? Because I think most people, especially in e-com, when there's a lot of other kind of easier ways to maybe start an online brand, why did you go after it?
I think it's because none of us actually care about money, like genuinely, not just in the kind of facetious kind of way where it's like, I don't really care. Like, genuinely for us, it was never really about making money. It was about disrupting the industry. And like, in a way, that's the only thing I want out of this, is to really show people that they've said that this thing is impossible, but I knew that it wasn't impossible. You just had to just push and push and push. And so really at its core, it was never an option to quit. And we had, we crowdfunded the original money. And so like, I felt very responsible as well. got like 1,600 people who were my original TikTok followers that gave us anywhere from $100 to, you know, 10,000. And, you know, yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. And I thought we were pretty clear about that. And so I probably could have said, oh, sorry, guys, you know, that's the risk of investing. But the reality was just, I would have felt bad about it. We had orders that we needed to fulfill. We had investors, we had people. And I thought, you know what, no, like unless you're pulling this out of my cold, dead hands, you know, we just got to try. And really, that's been the entire thing. We were on 2 weeks runway for 8 months, you know, just continuously. But you get really comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's wise words. It definitely has kind of shone through in everything that you've done since then. And when we were speaking the other day, and I asked you like quite candidly, you said your competitors' custom jeans could be $200, $300, $400 plus for a pair. I asked why are you selling it $100, because that margin can go a long way in e-commerce. I can't remember exactly what you said to me, but what you said, I'd love for you to kind of go through it now here, because I think that does back up the why of the brand.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's because it's personal. You know, I remember when I was in university, it was a time where all those climate marches were happening, you know, all over the world. And I remember going to those, wearing like my Zara jeans and like my Zara t-shirt, because the only thing I could afford, I was broke. I was working at a bar, you know, pouring beers, and I had nothing else. I couldn't do it. And I remember being like, I'm going to shop sustainably. Like I'm educated on the topic. I'm going to be conscious. I'm not going to buy sweatshop stuff. I couldn't afford anything. And so for me, you know, there's no such thing as sustainability without accessibility. That's what we say. And if the average person has to, you know, decide whether or not they're going to pay rent or buy your sustainable product, then you're not accessible. So for me, I always want to be within reach of all of what we consider kind of even fast fashion brands. If you're deciding, okay, it's going to be $70 to buy a pair of, you know, Zara jeans, well, it's $99 for us.
Yeah, I think that helps with the whole story and the vision of the brand as well. And I think when we spoke, I think a couple of months ago, when you'd kind of come back from the dead,
yeah,
from the TikTok post,
Supply
I think that's
chain.
when, yeah, I think that's when I think I already followed you, and then I saw you post. I was like, this guy's back. He's back. And the story, you looked like you'd had a tough kind of 12 months on the video, and you were super transparent. And it was crazy to see and hear about kind of what you'd done over those, I think it was about 12 months, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And did you not give all of the people who'd ordered the jeans, did you just send them a pair of jeans, or commit to sending them jeans that had ordered before and waited that whole time without essentially making much money yourselves? Did I get that right?
Oh yeah, I mean we've given away like $300,000 or $400,000 worth of jeans or coupons for jeans, or like basically if we've wronged something, you know, we're trying to make it right. I mean, I did like over 10,000 pairs of jeans at cost over the last year. Just whatever cost was that month, whether it was like $35 or $50, depending upon how the you know, the factory was running. It was like, cool, I don't need to make $1 off of this. I just need to keep the lights on. And so that was the thing. It's just this community is just, I have no idea if this is going to work. Buy them at cost and just try again. And so we just kept doing test batches. And yeah, if we make a mistake, we want to make it right. And we're still cleaning things up. You know, the reality is, before we built all of our software, you know, we were doing everything on spreadsheets, and it was messy, and we lost orders, and orders were shipped incorrectly. And so we're still getting people that are coming back to us. And there might even be people in these videos that see my face and go, that guy owes me a pair of jeans. And if you do, send me an email. Like, the reality is, we'll make it right. But yeah, you know, it was messy, long period of time, and we embrace it. We own it. It wasn't good enough, and we've never thought it was good enough. But we're also not making any money off of it. I'm not sitting in a penthouse somewhere pretending, you know, sipping champagne. We're in the factory. You know, I have a $50 IKEA bed in the corner of the factory of Istanbul. That's where I live. And so once we get going, you know, then we'll properly be able to make it right and show people that it works.
I think that goes a long way, though, to building that long-term growth. I've been seeing a couple of, without naming any names, a couple of pretty reputable brands get a lot of heat lately for using the whole sustainable angle, high quality product angle. And then there's this woman on TikTok that basically investigates the source of brands. And she found that this like pretty reputable brand had been shipping everything from really low cost manufacturers in China. And basically they've been lying about their whole value proposition. So I think consumers, we're going to, you know, see the way that you're approaching this, and essentially that's what builds a foundation to a long-term brand. You actually, you know, live by your words, which I think is quite rare in today's world.
Yeah, you've seen it in supplements as well, which I don't think it was always the brand's fault. I think some of it's been the suppliers, but then where does the responsibility ultimately does fall with you if you're selling something with that hasn't got half the things in that you say it has. So
definitely,
I think that doing things the right way, just over time, just like stacks up, right? So,
and fashion is full of it. I mean, you wouldn't believe the things we've seen in some of these factories around the world, sewing in labels that say like, ethically and sustainably made, and the kid is like 11 years old. It's just insane.
You see it with a lot of the Italian fashion houses, right? They produce it they do as little as possible in like Italy, and they produce it and then like route it through and stitch the label in.
Because the EU law says that the last transformational change needs to happen in the country of origin. So what a lot of these brands do is the zipper, because the zipper is a transformational change, and or the button, which they've stopped allowing just the button. You got to do one more thing than the button, which that's it. And so these jeans come in half finished from Bangladesh, and then they get finished by Bangladeshis that are illegally in Italy that they've imported somehow. You go to these places, it's unbelievable.
Really just flipping the script, I guess, there from yours. You mentioned the spreadsheet and the sizes. How many sizes and SKUs are you up to now in terms of...
1,170 sizes, about 900,000 SKUs.
That's complex. I guess that's why you probably got off the spreadsheet and onto the SaaS, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to dig into that as well, because I think we were chatting just before this. You're the only person we've had on the podcast from Canada, and the only one to have a different sort of technical front end setup to the store, with the SaaS integration, which I'm assuming was the origin of that just the necessity from a supply chain complexity perspective?
Totally, supply chain, and also just the fact that it's a buildable product. And so, we can't just have a standard e-com where you just go and see a collection of products and then click on something. We actually have to build it. You choose a wash, you choose this, and then once you purchase, then we send you basically to our app where you collect your measurements and so on and so forth. So from the buying experience, it needed to be different, but then mainly from the customer communication experience, it needed to be different. We have 12 touch points with the customer before they get the product, because it takes about 21 days. So when you place your order, then, I tell you your jeans have been cut, your jeans have been sewn. And so we realized that we needed to have an app that could actually automatically send those emails, or else people would have no idea where their jeans were. And when you're fighting in kind of an Amazon Prime world where everyone expects things tomorrow, you got to keep people entertained. And so really at its core, the entire system was just built around how do we make sure that the customer understands, okay, we're working on it, it's coming, and also to build empathy. I think part of the reason our return rate is so low, and it's almost, it's about 1%, 1.5% right now. Part of the reason it's so low is that even with minor imperfections, people don't want to return them because they know how much work has gone into them. They're like, wow, they have my name on the jeans. I've seen all these emails. I've seen all the pictures of the people that made them. Okay, maybe if it was Levi's, I would send them back. Instead, they fix them, or they change them, or they do something. So I'm going a little bit off topic on the tech side, but that's why we spend so much time really working on it.
And does that have you done a lot of experimentation and optimization in there? Is it built with that in mind, in terms of like being able to A/B test, really minimize drop off between certain stages?
Honestly, no, because fortunately we haven't had to yet. Fortunately, every time we're open for business, basically we sell out. So we've kind of never had to worry. Exactly. But we have done a ton of optimization in the factory, because at its core, the thing that the tech does first and foremost is it actually allows us to run this system at scale. And that's the reason that we can do it at $99 and a lot of brands can't, is that we cut, basically probably 70 or 80% of the issues out just by having everything in one place. Everything has QR codes. You scan things. They know where the items need to be. We know what it is. You pick up any pair of jeans in the factory and you scan the QR code, you'll know who it's going to, where, what the name tag needs to be, what button's going to go on it, everything in one place, what the next step is in production. And so that way it makes it really easy.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that reflected in the return rates. A lot of fashion brands would literally kill for that return rate.
Direct EBITDA.
It reminds me of actually, I read something last week about psychological biases, and I don't know if it's called like the IKEA effect, but it is the IKEA effect of how they did it to make things way easy for them, like the flat pack furniture.
Sure.
But they found that people actually value the furniture, whatever the product, way more. I don't remember the stats, but way more because they've actually built it. So they've got this secondary benefit, which by design reduces return rates, it makes people value the product more. I guess it's not really made it easy for you on the production front, but on the return rate side, it seems to have made a massive impact. Not only people are actually getting products that genuinely fit them, but they probably value that products a lot more. And like you said, they see what goes into it, so they don't even want to send it back.
You're totally right. I mean, we talk about the IKEA effect a lot in the sense that we don't get returns for styles because people feel responsible. They're like, oh, color's not really me, but I chose it, you know, and so they're fine with it. And in the sense of kind of what you're saying on the empathy side, yeah, really at its core, I think that when people feel like something was made for them, it wasn't just a part of a batch of 25,000 pairs of jeans that were made. It's a completely different headspace. And so, you know, that's why I think we get so many people coming back is once we see a really interesting buying behavior where people will buy one pair of jeans and then the day it's delivered, they buy like 3 or 4 more, like cool. Repeatedly.
They're just checking it out first.
Exactly. And you know, I get it because it's like, okay, this is strange. I'm buying pants on the internet. I'm giving them my measurements. Is it going to work? And when it does, then they immediately come back.
That is 100% how I would transact with your store. As soon as I find trousers that fit, I'm like, I want all of them, all of the colors. Like,
and then the thing is too,
it's
like
a hard thing to find. Right?
We're the only ones that make sizes for a lot of people. Anyone with odd proportions, anyone with big thighs, inseams is a big thing for us. You know, like we have female Olympic volleyball players that come to us and they're like, I dare you to make me a pair of jeans. And like they're taller than I am. Yeah. And we do, and they come back all the time because no one else can make their jeans. And so we get a bit of a moat in that regard as well, where no one can touch it.
Yeah, the story about, you told me the other day about the rugby guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite funny. He said he'd never had a pair of jeans, right?
Yeah, he basically said, I've never had a pair of jeans that fit me, ever. And he's like, look,
too big.
And I said, look, if I make you a pair of jeans that fit you, you have to invest in the company. And he was just like, yeah, okay, deal. And we made him a pair of jeans and he followed through. He invested. And he's this really cool. Big England rugby guy and he's excellent. He's one of our best investors. So.
That's great.
That is cool.
I just want to, on the tech side, I'd love to dive into like how you approach that build, I guess, from a technical perspective. I know you've got a technical co-founder, which we were discussing earlier, but yeah, what did that process look like? How long did it take? Resource, I guess. Obviously, it's now, like you said, a massive moat and probably has a big positive impact on margin as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, how did that process?
It was a disaster. Every single stage of it was a disaster. We were on like version 37 of this software. Like every time we thought we fixed it, it just didn't work. In the sense that, you know, I have a technical background as well, but more on a data side. So my co-founder is more of a software engineer. So it was great because I could build the data systems and he could basically build the database. And, you know, we basically figured out, okay, how do we track something from end to end? You'd think it's very simple, right? Take thing from point A, track it at all these stages. But when you have that many SKUs and you have that many orders coming in, and like making a pair of jeans is really complicated. Like people don't even understand how much labor goes into just making a single pair of jeans and then all the ordering on both sides of it. So really at its core, we had to learn in real time how everything worked. And we built the software around it as we were learning how all of it worked. So it took like 2.5 years of like several thousand hours of development between the two of us to build even a functional working version. And now it's at a place where we're really happy with it. And now we're like, okay, this could maybe be really good for other factories. And now we're thinking about how do we take this, make it more malleable, and then put it into other factories.
Nice.
But very, very long, very painful build.
It's like the Slack model, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they did, right? They went to build a game. Was it a game? And then they ended up building Slack, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how that would be valuable for the other factories in terms of driving.
Is this the tech that you showed me the other day?
Part of it.
That was really cool. Yeah, it is really cool. Something that I think is going to become more and more essential. And I've seen a lot on like, augmented reality and that type of stuff, especially in like sunglasses and shoes type products. But for most products, most brands don't want to know. They don't want the customers to know how bad fitting a lot of their clothes are going to be.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think that's an interesting development. I think a lot of brands are going to start changing into more sort of tech brands over the next few years.
Yeah, agreed.
It's interesting to think about the clothing from that view of like clothing brands don't want to know how, like maybe the sizing is an issue and maybe they think it'll kill demand a bit, but at the same time I know ASOS like are starting to try and reverse that whole like unlimited free returns because it's just killed their profit margin, right? I think one of my friends recently got penalized because she's terrible at ordering too much stuff and sending loads of it back. Mm-hmm. It's like it could flip the way that people just like think and approach the fashion industry.
And people that purposely buy like 3 sizes and just expect to send at least 2 back.
Exactly.
And that's the
and
business.
So you can do that though when the product is like, you know, 10 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? That's the difference between really purposeful manufacturing and the brands that, you know, that's why we try to price in a position where it's like, you're probably not going to buy 3 pairs of jeans from us and wait 21 days and then return 2 of them. You know, you got to be pretty purposeful about it.
Yeah.
And I think like that's the direction that you're going to start to see a lot of these brands going, is like, okay, we need to try and make sure that the prices are a little bit higher, but therefore the quality is a little bit better, and we're doing lower quantities but higher quality, because people are just not happy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think by mastering the custom product business model, it's very obviously been very hard to do, but you solve a lot of problems that a lot of other brands have. I've spoken to quite a few brands before doing custom shoes, custom trainers, custom jean brand we spoke to a few years ago, and they were limited by they were essentially the people making the custom products. Have you ever made a pair of jeans, or did you just go straight to the most skilled, like I don't know what you call them, tailors?
Yeah, tailors. Personally, not really. I mean, I know how to sew, but not well. And, you know, I'm getting better because I spent so much time in the factory and the guys find it hilarious. But I make it mandatory for anyone who joins the company. They have to come to Turkey and make their own pair of jeans.
That's cool.
So they can see how hard it is. It is so hard.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's an art. We don't even appreciate in the slightest how hard it is to make the clothes that we wear that are on, you know, the shelf for like 5 pounds. But yeah, I mean, no, we just realized that the only way that this worked is finding talent. That was like I was saying about Istanbul. It's a sample culture, in the sense that if you're going to go and make 1 million units of jeans in Bangladesh, you don't sample with those people, because they don't really want to do samples. They want to take one thing and make 1 million of them. So what a lot of people have been using Turkey for years is they go there and there's really good designers and there's really small factories. They go there and they bring a concept. The guys make it. Okay, they try the fitting. They get the fits perfectly right. They make 10 pieces, 5 pieces, 3 pieces. Then they take those and bring them to the mega factories. So they had this culture of really good tailors, really small productions. And so I went there and I was basically just pitching it as like, I want to build a really good sample factory, but every order that we receive is basically a sample.
Yeah.
And that's why it was actually not too much of a learning curve for those guys. They're used to it.
Super interesting.
So you hold 0 actual pre-made stock all the time. I think you told me it was 20 days, right? From order to someone getting, is it someone getting or someone finishing?
So it's about 20 days now production time, and then we ship. So usually, and then shipping's pretty easy, a few days. So it's now 20 days. It wasn't always 20 days.
5 months, you said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, most brands, if they had a 20-day or more period where customers didn't get their product, you know, their customer service inbox would be crazy. So you've managed to somehow, obviously we know how, but you've managed to have these timelines, and I guess people are more than happy to wait, which I guess is a dream scenario for most brands. Have you ever found that, obviously when there was 5-month wait maybe, but have you found that still customers are a little bit, you know, wanting to get their product sooner? Or do you think that the brand building that you've done and the founder story angle that you've taken and the transparency you've had the whole time has allowed you to have this flexibility and you know?
I think people are way more willing to wait than brands give people credit for, if it's communicated properly, in the sense that if you go up to someone and you say, look, I'm going to give you a much higher quality version of something and it's going to be made for you and it's going to have your name in it, but I need a little bit more time than off the rack. Most people are like, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah,
sure. You know, where I think the disconnect is in some cases that, you know, if you're selling them at like $400, $500, $600, different story. There's this huge risk aspect in it. So that's what we've also tried to do with the pricing model and this online experience is, okay, we got to touch base with the person at every single stage. So you get this really big story. The risk is also relatively low, because if you lose $100, you're not going to be bankrupt, but you're like, okay, I'll take a chance on it. And I think it's really a balance of between pricing, the experience, the communication, and then how you position the brand. And I mean, that's why we called it slow. You know, it's the joke. It's not fast fashion. You know, from the core of it, you can see very clearly what it is that you're signing up for. And I think that most consumers, they get it really quickly and they're like, yeah, okay, this is fine. I'll try it.
Yeah, that's been conveyed in all of the content that I've seen you put out there. Did you ever really think too much about the content strategy? Because whenever I've seen it, it's very raw, very authentic, and I've used your content as examples to show other founders how to do founder-led content, because I think a lot of founders are scared that they need to put in all, you know, book out a podcast studio and sometimes it looks like you're maybe just in the warehouse doing a video, but
oh yeah, I mean,
the views and the engagement.
70 million organic views with this iPhone. I have no other equipment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just got a mic like recently. I've never had one, like literally. And so this is the thing. It's just, I have no content strategy. None. Yeah. I have rhetoric strategies because especially when you're in crisis, you know, you want to communicate things clearly. So I do spend a lot of time writing down like, okay, how do I want to communicate what is going on? Mm-hmm. But, you know, in terms of content, no, just let it roll, you know? And I think that's what works well is I joke all the time that I think probably more than half of our customers didn't even really want the jeans. You know, they're just, they're so invested.
Vibing with you,
yeah, they're so invested in this thing. In some cases, and some of them physically are invested in the thing. Mm-hmm. They just are along for the ride, and they're so interested in like, oh, well, if I buy a pair of jeans, then it'll help them move it along. And I don't really wear jeans, but maybe they'll make the next thing, and that's something that I do like. And so got a lot of people rooting for us exclusively because the content strategy is just be a human. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and every now and then we run into people and they recognize me in public or whatnot. And they're like, oh my God, you're the jeans guy. And I'm like, oh God, this is weird. And then I get talking to them for a few minutes and they're like, wow, you're like the same person. I'm like, yeah, but what else would I be?
Yep.
You know, that's
that
it.
Authenticity, I think is like such a trend, right? And I think where brands, where I feel like you've leaned into it probably more so than most through the sharing of the hard times and not just the good, which I think brands just shy away from. They get scared of doing it, and founders overthink that massively. So I wanted to discuss more about that community piece and like how did you, obviously content strategy sounds like it's very off the cuff, very authentic, behind the scenes, etc., led by yourself. How did you go about turning that into sort of waitlist, demand, signups, etc.? What was the process there around the first drop? And then beyond that? I feel like community is probably the DTC buzzword of 2025, and it sounds like you've just cultivated a really strong one, quite authentic, quite organically.
Definitely. And I mean, yeah, the thing about community is it's not linear. Like there's going to be great moments with your community, and there's going to be moments where you're like, oh my God, I wish I didn't have a community because, you know, you're held to a higher standard, but they will back you 100%. And that's a good thing. It's on both sides. We've had times where when things are going really wrong, we haven't communicated well enough, or we've had periods where like, oh my God, did we send out a newsletter? It's been 3 weeks and people are still waiting for things. And yeah, there's 500 support tickets and people are furious. And then you come out and you're like, yeah, you have every right to be furious. Here's what's been going on. So kind of bringing it back in the sense that all we tried to do in the beginning was I had this very simple funnel, just get lots of views and send them to a form. And if they want to fill out the form and they want to click sign up for the wait list, then that's it. We got like over 1 million people to click on forms, and we got about 20% of them to sign up for the wait list. About 200,000 people.
Good conversion rate.
Yeah, really solid. And that was the formation of the community. And then, so for example, I went dark on social media for over a year, but we've been talking to those 200,000 people the entire time. Mm-hmm. So those are the people that when we do turn the factory back on and we go, hey, we're available, we have 1,000 pairs and they're at cost, do you want them? We sell it immediately because they're in the loop. Yep. And so what we've tried to do is separate the concept of like, okay, we have our community and we have the public. And to me, that's the thing that a lot of people get wrong, is they treat them the same. People think like, oh, community means having followers. Community is not followers. Community is I get on the phone with people. Like I know them. I know these people. They pop up. I know their usernames from like 3 years ago. I'll send them a DM and be like, hey, nice to see you again. Like that's the difference. It's this aspect where they know you and you know them. And if you're not at that point, you don't have a community.
I guess it's like a higher expectation on both sides, right? And I've seen inside brand communities, and it does often boggle my mind how engaged people are.
Totally.
And how like the length of messages, the amount that people care about certain products or certain brands. And I think you're right. Like, I think community is thrown around a lot, and it's rarely approached in with as much intention as you just described. So that's super powerful.
Like we have a Discord community that's like 8,000 or 9,000 people. Yep. And I mean, they're our biggest fans and our biggest critics. And they know it because they have direct access. And, you know, I get messages from them all day long. People just sit in our Discord and just chat like they're friends now. Like we have people who have told us that they've like scheduled like meetups of people who own our jeans in different cities, that they're just because they're a part of a Discord. I know nothing about this. I didn't do that. It did it by itself. It's this living, breathing being. but we gave them a space to do that. And I think a lot of brands are really afraid because when things were going bad, yeah, we gave everyone who was also angry an ability to talk to them with one another.
Yeah.
Like I was public enemy number
Snowball.
one. Yeah, it does. And it does,
Yeah.
right? But just as quickly, you can step in there and go, you're all right, 100%. And no one's expecting you to do that, right? They're expecting you to play the PR, strategy instead of coming out being like, nope.
Yeah, good businesses and good founders should be willing to take that
100%.
heat because it's ultimately the best type of feedback you could possibly get.
Exactly. I get that all the time. People say to me like, yeah, like you got a bunch of negative reviews and stuff online. I'm like, yeah, 100%. I've indexed every single one. We've got 91 negative reviews. I've shipped 19,000 orders so far. We've got 91 negative reviews.
Percentage.
I'm pretty comfortable with that. Yeah. And just because I'm not review farming the positive ones doesn't mean that I get emails from people all the time that are like, I've never owned a pair of jeans. And like they fit me and I feel confident and I feel good and I wear them to work and I love it. Like personal essays from people talking about pants.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, look, I'm not worried about it because I know that once we get rolling, once we get moving and once the tech is firing on all cylinders and the factory is, it's fine,
That feedback's invaluable, right, as well.
100%.
It just accelerates your rate of progression
100%.
so fast.
There's no one that gives you better feedback than someone that hates you. 100%. Like we call people up and they're furious. Like, give me my money back. Okay, we gave you your money back. Tell us what you hated. It's great.
Yeah, that's an underrated strategy. I can't remember which SaaS product it was, but I think it's like $1 billion something company, and the founder sometimes still sits in the support chat.
Channel. I saw that as well. I
can't
can't remember who it was.
But I just think it's such an underrated strategy. Like,
Totally.
sounds so obvious, but if you want to like understand your customers, just speak to them.
Yeah.
And
Like Rafe, my co-founder, he refuses to give up customer service. He answers every single ticket. He's answered like probably 7,000 or 8,000 tickets so far. And when he came into the business, he came in a little bit as a later co-founder. He was like, I think the best way for me to figure out how to fix things is just interacting with people.
Line, right?
And so like he answers every single ticket. I've been saying to him for ages, every time we're getting, okay, we got a bit of money now, we should hire someone to do that. He's like, no, it's like, this is important. And people, they've built such a relationship with him as a result that like we've got people that they've had, oh no, their order got lost and we made it again and it got lost again. And they're just chilling because they're like, oh, it's fine. Rafe will take care of me, and that's great.
That makes a big difference. The most frustrating thing is getting like a chatbot with support. And you're like just typing human and you just can't get through and you just give up all hope.
Exactly.
Yeah. Seeing bigger businesses where it's like impossible to get to a human being. Virgin Media are terrible for that, actually. They're the worst I've ever come across, where it's like impossible to speak to a human being at that company. And I'm like, how has that become the normal?
No, seriously.
How is the expectation? How are expectations so low that I've just got to go through 50,000 help documents and then one bot and that's everything you can get?
I remember seeing a presentation by Gorgeous. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
And they had this whole presentation, which obviously is their pitch, but it's about turning customer service channel into a sales channel. And the stats that they showed was crazy, like reducing response times from 24 hours to 20 minutes, and it leading to more sales because most requests are either pre-purchase or soon as somebody's purchased when you obviously want to impress that customer. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've got it under control, even with all of the stress you've had.
We didn't always, but the pre-purchase is interesting with customer service. I find like pre-purchase is a great place to have the AI. And that's what we do. We have a really great AI bot that does really good answers for pre-purchase. How long does it take me to get the jeans? Yeah. How do I give you my measurements? And we just absolutely taught it everything. And it does really well and it converts really, really well. But I feel like post-purchase has to be a human. It just has to be.
So custom every time, right?
Did you get those? You're launching some new products, right? I think we can speak about that. Yeah. Did you get those ideas from the community, or?
We do. I mean, we do a lot of community testing. We ask people, we send out a message to say, what should we make next? And it's mostly been different styles of jeans, and some of them have always been kind of interesting where you put out and say, what should we make? And people like cargo jeans. And you're like, really? Okay, I guess. Fine. Okay, let's do it. And what type? And then, we've done that. So that's always been a strategy. In the immediate, it's largely been like, okay, what's the next big category? And so we've been doing that more than the community. We're trying to put forth ideas in the sense of, what the next logical one is chinos, or like some sort of other pants. Once you got one category of pants, the other one, you know, that's
they're booming right now.
They are again for whatever reason.
I wondered what was
half the
going
fabric, same price for most brands. It's crazy.
That's the thing though, because the manufacturing cost is the same.
Yeah,
it's identical.
Time,
because the material is probably the lowest part of the market. Like it's very cheap.
Yeah,
you know, in the reality part of it, like good denim is like £3 a meter. So I mean, if I'm making a pair of jeans, it's like 1.2 meters. I'm making a pair of shorts, it's like 0.7. So the reality is I'm saving like £1.
Yeah.
You know, but everything else is the same.
And no one understands that, I guess.
No,
makes sense.
No. Exactly.
Damn, a jorts brand I was going to launch out the window.
But
yeah, chinos, and then what else are you looking
at? The
at?
idea is to do head to toe. I mean, the idea is that eventually you can come onto the site, you can get scanned, you have your body profile, and I can make you anything. You know, I can make you shirts, I can make you pants, I can make you jeans, and then it'll just come in a big box, and you've got everything. It's got your name on it, but always like the staple pieces. We don't want to chase trends.
Yeah.
And the brand is branded as Scandinavian because our design team is in Denmark. My background is Danish.
It's a Danish surname, right?
Yeah, exactly. My dad's Danish. And so that was kind of how I was brought up, was like Scandinavian fashion. You buy the basics and then that you mix and match, you know, Scandinavian capsule closets. And so the core of it is that's what we want to do. We'll have like 20 or 30 pieces of things that are the basics. You know, I'll probably end up with like 4 or 5 cuts of jeans, and that's what we make, and we'll never change that. That's what we do. And if you come to us, and we'll give you the best version of that thing for the best price, and it'll be the best fitting version of it. But if you want an outfit to wear for New Year's Eve, you're not going to find it with us, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
Is that why the slow is spelled like that as well?
Yeah, exactly.
You thought so much about this. So impressive.
We had a lot of time.
Yeah, that's cool. Also, probably the most stylish people in the world are from that part of the world.
Totally.
Every time I go, I'm just like, what am I doing?
The thing that's amazing about Denmark too is how much they appreciate like fashion. They appreciate food. They appreciate things and craftsmanship, and the standards are so high. And like our Scandinavian customers are our biggest critics, and I love it. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to sell into Scandinavia, especially as someone from the outside. Even though we kind of posture the brand as from there, it's really just our design office that's there. But yeah, I mean, they have high standards, and we like that. I want to meet those standards, because then everywhere else, you know, we're meeting them.
Makes sense.
Nice.
You mentioned that at the moment, every time you put a batch of jeans available, like they sell out instantly. It'd be good to chat a bit about the ramp up that you're looking to do now. You've got the supply chain back in place. Like, what does the next sort of 6 months, 12 months look like in terms of a go-to-market? What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah.
Do you foresee any other massive catastrophic issues? Hopefully not.
Yeah, we do. We got a whole list. I mean, I've got a risk registrar at all times, you know, and we go to them every week, and we sit down, and that's also helpful of Rafe. He worked in insurance for years, so he's like Mr. Risk. But no, we know exactly. I know where things will break and at what capacity. So for us, the cool thing is that everything's related to capacity.
Yeah.
So my current capacity, I can do like 3,000 to 5,000 pairs of jeans a month very comfortably. And then I know exactly how much it's going to cost me to take that from 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 and so on and so forth. So that's really the ramp up period, is that the goal is we're going to come back in June. We'll start selling about 3,000 units, and then we'll go to 5, and then we'll go to 7. But the goal is like really fall is our Super Bowl per se, to not sound too American.
Makes sense.
The reality being that there'll be like 10,000, 15,000 units a month is where I think we'll probably be aiming to be. Like, that's in a position where an incredibly valuable brand doing like 1.5 to 2 million a month, you know, and that gives us the ability to also standardize some things in the sense that we can still deliver you the highly personalized item, but we know where, based on our data, orders will start to overlap that allow us to manufacture with greater efficiency. Because even though there's 1,100 sizes, the reality is about 40 of them are ordered the majority of the time, because the human body and most people have the same sizes for the most part.
Normal distribution, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So we think that at about a 10 to 15,000 orders a month, I mean, we'll be able to bring the lead time down below 14 days.
Nice.
I was going to ask a data question, because just the way you were talking there about the predictability, the ability to know, is that built into the tech as well?
It is.
Top to bottom.
So I've been working on an algorithm for like the last couple of years. It basically takes all these different factors into consideration, and the size set distribution. And that's really my background. That's where I started my career, was in working with big data sets.
Nice.
And so, data is a big thing. AI is built into it as well, which is great. We built Gemini into it because it's a very large context window, which is great. So it can just be monitoring like thousands of metrics at the same time. And then that's what allows us to understand, okay, what are we manufacturing next It's got predictive, basically order placement. So if we get 1,000 orders, what do we make first? It'll decide based on the past history of what we've done and how long it took us to make different sizes or different colors or different combinations, batch things together, and it tells us everything. That used to take us like 6 or 7 days to figure it out. Now it does in 30 seconds.
That's amazing.
That's really impressive. Do we need to wrap up?
We do need to wrap up, I think.
Shall we, final thing before I wrap up, it's obviously been a chaotic 2 years, almost 18 months. Would you have done anything differently if you could give one sort of tip, one bit of advice to people watching?
Yeah, I think so. I think I probably would have. I don't think I could have done anything different. Is the part is to answer your question. So I don't think I could have, but if I would have had the chance to, I probably would have started the factory earlier. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't have given third-party manufacturing so many chances. Yeah. I just didn't know enough and I was thrown into it so much. So if I could go back and know everything that I know now and go straight back to the beginning, the first thing I would have done with that crowdfunding money initially was build the factory, like own it end to end, immediately. And, we had to see how bad it was to get to that point. But yeah, if I could do it again, I would do it sooner.
Nice.
Super interesting.
Nice.
Really interesting. One final question for myself. We like to ask this of all guests, but where do you think e-commerce and D2C is going? If you have to predict, like make a couple of bold predictions about the next couple of years from a trends perspective, what would you say?
I think brands that are not willing to innovate like this in terms of personalization and basically taking something that's relatively common and actually do something different are really going to struggle. They're going to be swallowed up by the rising customer acquisition costs. I think now when you've got so many people that are trying to be the founder creator, you've got this flood now of people that are making content in areas where you used to not see a lot of content. So it's way more competitive than it used to be to get eyeballs. It's way harder to build a community than it was even a year ago.
Yep.
So as a result, your product has to solve a problem. And that sounds so entrepreneur basics, but the reality is everyone wants a fashion brand because they think fashion is sexy. It's not. It's ugly. It's dirty. It's living in a factory, and it's incredibly tough. The days are gone where you can take your name and put it on a t-shirt and be like, I have a fashion brand.
Yeah.
Your brand has to solve a problem. You got to be the guy that figures out how to take the Stan Smith and make it better or something. But the reality is, to me, that's the direction. The best brands, mark my words, the next 10 years will be the ones that do something that everyone loves differently. Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're screwed.
Amazing prediction.
Couldn't agree
Very
more,
fundamental as well, which I love. Well, yeah, thank you so much for giving us the time and coming
thanks
on.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Where can everybody watching find yourself and the brand if they want to?
Yeah, I mean, SLO.co is our website, SLO.co. And you can find me on TikTok at The Jeans Guy.
I'll put your links in the description.
Please.
Great brand, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching.